Hi guys. I've had a lot of kids come up to me and say, my brother or sister got to do Wordology, and when do we get to do Wordology, and what is it? So I'm here to answer that question today. Let's get started. Welcome to Wordology. So in Wordology, you're going to become a wordologist. And we kind of pull apart that word. I have to let you know it's not a real word, so don't look it up in the dictionary. It's not a true word. But a wordologist comes from ology, which means study of, right here, wordology. And then ist, like a scientist, ist is a person who, so a wordologist is a person who studies words. And this year, you get to become one. We love words, and part of being a wordologist is just falling in love with words. And I'm going to talk about that today because at our school we are vocabulary strong. If you are a Riverside Scholar, you are pushing your vocabulary. You're trying bigger, better, harder words in your vocabulary, and we call that being vocabulary strong. So here's our Swab at. Scholars will, that's the S, scholars, W, will, B, A, able, T, to. Scholars will be able to. Today I want you to find 3 words that you notice or find interesting and explain why. Words are at the center of becoming a better reader and a better writer and, quite frankly, a better learner. So we want to make sure that we're spending time noticing words. How can I be better at understanding words? I'm going to give you some tips. Tip number 1, just love words. I put some of my favorite up here, but just love different kinds of words. I have the word meander, which means to wander about. Curmudgeon, which means crabby old person. Serendipity, which means a surprising coincidence. And delicious, which means yummy. But I like to use delicious like she's a delicious person. She's just like a yummy, great type of person. So tip number 1, love words. Tip number 2, don't limit yourself to one word. Write down any word that tickles your ears. So tickles your ears means you hear it and you're like, ooh, I like that word. Mr. Meyer does a lot of words that tickle my ears, and I ask him, what is that word? How do you spell it? How would you use it? What part of speech is it? I just interview him on those words. So tip number 2 is don't limit yourself to one word and write down any of words that sound interesting to you. Tip number 3, read a lot. If you want to become a wordologist, spend a lot of time in books reading. It'll automatically, without you even thinking too much about it, increase your vocabulary. Next tip, write a lot. If you want to become a wordologist and become a smarter, better, brighter person, write a lot. Get yourself a journal. Write down your thoughts. It doesn't have to be for anybody to publish and show to anybody. It can just be yourself. But a good tip is to write a lot. Next, listen to find different parts of words. So you're going to start noticing some different parts of words. You're going to look at those Greek and Latin roots, the root or the base of the word, and you're going to see how words can kind of word jump. That'll be part of wordology, is talking about word jumping. So I'm just going to show you what I mean by that. So these Greek and Latin roots, you have your root word, or sometimes we call it our base word, and you can add a prefix to it. Pre means before. You can add some letters before it that are going to change the meaning of the word, or you can add a suffix, a word at the end of it, that's going to change the meaning at the end of it. Let me show you what I mean. If I take the word play, I got to move my head out of here, and I add the prefix re to it, it becomes replay. To play again. If I add the suffix ing, now suddenly it becomes replaying. And when you put ing at the end of the word, you have a verb. So replaying is when you play something again. Here's another example. If I have the root word school, and then I have put pre in front of it, I have preschool. I can add a suffix to an er ending to put at the end, and that means person. Like a teacher is a person who teaches. Pre means before. So a preschooler is a person who, there's my goes to school before school is required. So our preschoolers, if you went to preschool, you went when you were like 3 years old to preschool. You take that base word, you have a prefix in front of it, a suffix in front of it, but once you start paying attention to that, that makes it easier to understand not only that word, but many different words. Like if you have the at the end and then you're like, oh, means person who. So if I have a teacher, that's referring to a person. You start to notice the difference between them. That's a wordologist. And in wordology, those are the types of things that we're going to do this year. Here's another one. I have my base word or my root word equal. If I put the prefix un in front of it, un means not. So if something is unequal, it is not equal. Like 3 is unequal to 7. They're not equal. They're not the same amount. Now I can add a suffix to the end. I can add an ed ending. That's going to indicate that it is past tense. It's also going to indicate that it is and can be an adjective or a verb there. So if something is unequaled, they are not equal, and it happened in the past tense. Ooh, I'm bright. I think it's the sun. All right, guys. So that is wordology in a nutshell. Wordology will be the time that we spend just really studying, loving, unpacking words. I can't wait. You're going to become a wordologist in doing it, and a person who studies words. You're going to fall in love with words. You're going to become vocabulary strong. And finally, make sure you hit that Swab ad. So you're going to find 3 words today that you notice something about. Maybe you notice the ending on it. Maybe you notice you like the way that it sounds, like meander or curmudgeon. Maybe you just take out a dictionary and you look up words in that dictionary and just pick out 3 of them. You have to pick out 3 of them. Maybe you look up on the internet interesting words for kids and see what you find. Whatever it is, today is your kickoff to wordology, and today is the day that you get to start your journey at becoming a wordologist. Take care. I'll see you next time on Wordology.